Breaking into the music business is a unique journey for everyone, but the love of music and the culture is the connecting tie. These are the untold stories of how Canada's most prominent Black entertainment professionals got their start in an industry that never sleeps. I'm Adrian Wallace.
And I'm Tera Beljo. Welcome to Season 3 of AMPLIFY. Are you hustlin' or are you hustlin'? It's a question that separates the players from the pretenders, the icons from the outsourceds. We're peeling back the curtain on what it really takes to make it in this game. We're talking late nights, missed meals, and sacrifices that would make most people tap out. But for our guests, it's just another day chasing that elusive break. It's the difference between dreaming and doing. It's about finding your passion and following it. For Carla Beauvais, a passionate advocate for social justice and the executive director of Fondation Dynastie, her journey began with the sweet sounds of Francophone music played by her Haitian parents.
As soon as I was in my mom's belly, because my parents, they used to listen to a lot of music in the house. And I remember my mom telling me that she was putting some kind of music while she was pregnant. But when I grew up, they always put like French songs. It was always Charles Aznavour, Edith Piaf. So I grew up really with those kind of music. My parents they're from Haiti, so they had a big connection with French music. I don't know why. So I really grew up with music in the house.
Award-winning recording artist, songwriter, actor, and director Marika Siewert has been carving her path to stardom since she was just a wide-eyed 7-year-old with big dreams. While other kids were playing make-believe, she was already plotting her course to the top of the charts.
I've always been in love with music. I think as a young child, I remember being 5 years old. I grew up in England, and I wanted to start piano lessons. And for some reason, I wasn't allowed to until I was like 7, so I went and bought my own piano book and started teaching myself piano. So my first lesson, I was so bored because the teacher was trying to teach me like the keyboard, and I knew it all already. So I think, as 5 is as young as I can remember, but I've always loved it.
In a world where music transcends borders and speaks to the soul, we find another powerful voice in Brandon Gonez. As the CEO and founder of Gonez Media, Brandon embodies the belief that music is a universal language capable of evoking emotions that words alone often cannot capture.
Like, we were raised in the church, so, music was always a part of our life. I also used to be in the choir. I was tenor. Tried to hold down that section, but not all the time did it work out. But but my favorite part of church, unfortunately wasn't the preaching, but it was like the praise and worship part of service, because there's something about music that can either uplift you, it just can transform what's happening, it can give you goosebumps, it's a form of expression that sometimes when you don't even have the words to express what you're going through, somehow music can just do that for you. Something about me is I just love a good slow track. I love to just drive on the highway late at night, going into downtown, and just putting on the music and just being at peace. It's like a peaceful place for me.
From the sacred halls of worship, Twysted Miyake-Mugler, house founder and father, discovered his true calling within the vibrant world of Canada's ballroom scene.
I fell in love with music as a kid. I couldn't give you a specific age, but I was brought up in church and there was a lot of music there. That's where I fell in love with it first, more listening and singing, and then as I grew up, it shifted more to dancing. But right as a kid in church, I think that's where I first got exposed to real music and where I fell in love with it.
Moving from England to the Great White North created a spark for Marika that could only be filled by following her new dream.
When I was a youngster, I think I was literally thought I was going to be a doctor. So my dad's a doctor, and I literally could draw a heart, word for word, muscle for muscle. So I always thought I was going to do that. And then I moved to Canada when I was 12, and I don't know, there was a spark when I saw just how television was being made. And I thought, I would love to be a musician and an actor, probably when I was around 12 years old. Didn't think I could do it as a career, but there was definitely a spark, probably that young.
Born to Ethiopian immigrants and raised in Scarborough, Weyni Mengesha, award-winning director and artistic director of Soul Pepper Theater, found her voice not just in the arts, but in the fight for social justice.
First fell in love with theater in high school. I used it as an extension of some of the social activism that was happening. I really didn't know much about it. I had not even been to a professional play at that point in my career or in my life. We had a high school group in Scarborough called Black to the Future. It was run by Dwayne Morgan, who's, was a poet and still does poetry shows to this day. And we needed a way to we wanted to embody some inspirational Black characters and moments in history. And so sketches and skits started to happen, and I got the job just by being there. But I completely fell in love with it and thought I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to make social change. And a teacher said to me, it sounds like what you want to do is actually not just use the precedents that have been there and to learn all about what law can do for you or how you can continue to use law, but sounds like you want to envision something new and inspirational, and that you're a storyteller.
From the stages of Hollywood to the dynamic world of music videos, Director X's journey is a testament to the power of visual storytelling. His path to becoming one of the most sought-after directors in the music industry began with a simple yet profound gift, an eye for the extraordinary.
I didn't fall in love with music. I'm a director. I fell in love with visuals. I fell in love with drawing, and just always was. Just from the beginning. Started with comic books, animation, and then it grew into graphic design, photography, filmmaking. But my journey into music, I'm a service industry to the music industry, right? So I'm a visual guy, and that's always been my part of the game. But hip hop, when I was coming up, really spoke to us about who we were. It was a very different time, right? Especially growing up in Canada. You didn't get a lot of Black music. You didn't get any Black music. You didn't get any Black shows. You didn't get Black nothing. And the world it wasn't like it is now, right? There were no Kardashians on TV exclusively dating Black men, and this wasn't happening. Yeah, back in those days, hip hop really crossed a lot of sections. You had your political rappers, your hippie rappers, your artistic rappers, your gangster rappers. Now everyone's a gangster regardless. But back then, it filled a different purpose for us, right? Like Public Enemy in the streets for Fight the Power. That music video being a protest, that song, Fight the Power. You gotta fight the power. That did something. So hip hop it was more than just music for us growing up.
As Director X painted the canvas of hip-hop representation through his groundbreaking visuals, publicist, author, and award-winning journalist Dalton Higgins has been chronicling the beat of Black Canadian culture through the power of journalism.
It was reading this newspaper, this daily newspaper in Toronto. It's called the Toronto Sun, and it's god-awful. It's terrible. It's when we talk about anti-Black racism, this is what we saw and felt reading that newspaper, that daily newspaper, which still exists to this day. Just the way they reported on our community as far as anything tied to just politics, economics, social issues. It felt just horrifically racist, anti-Black racism on steroids, So what I'd also noticed is as I'm flipping through the newspaper, because my mother, she used to buy the newspaper, pick it up at the newsstand. I would flip through the pages, and I didn't really see any Black, when you have a columnist, so yeah, they have headshots for the reporters, right? So you can see who works at the newspapers, and so we'd thumb through the newspaper, and I didn't see any Black faces there, right? And then I was like, okay, this is why they don't get my community. They don't get the Black community. They don't get any of this. They don't get the Caribbean community, continental African community. They just don't get it because as far as representation in their newsroom, clearly their newsroom did not represent or reflect demographic realities. Meaning you don't have any Black staffers on board because I can see that. I can see who the columnists are, right? So at that point in time, you have this saying, nothing about us without us. So this idea of people reporting aren't a part of the culture, don't look like the culture. I said, I want to be a part of the change. I want to be the change. Was it Mahatma Gandhi? I want to be the change I want to see, right? So at that point in time, I'm in high school, doing well in English class. I'm into language and literacy. That comes from my mother, Perlita Ellis. Like Higgins, she's just reading books, reading magazines. She has a voracious appetite for reading literature, just reading stuff. So I sort of inherited that from her, and I said, okay, I want to pursue something, having something to address what's happening in the Toronto Sun, right? Which is there's no black staffers, the way they report on our communities. It's like when people report on hip hop shows, like they have no clue as to, you know what I mean, what the hip hop constituency looks like, what it feels like. They don't know the music, so why are you reporting on it?
Like Dalton, Hillary Leblanc's journalism journey wasn't just about personal success. It was about amplifying voices that had long been silenced or overlooked. The written word was more than just a creative outlet. It was a lifeline.
I knew that I wanted to be a writer, but I definitely, for some reason had the mental capacity of I'm going to be a teacher first, and then I'll try to maybe write a book and be an author. When my mom got dementia almost a decade ago, and I had a lot of free time on my hands, I started playing around with modeling and trying to find a community, which led to fashion writing. And I thought, well, that would be really interesting to talk about something that's that creative. And it's what pushed me to move to Toronto. And then I think coming here and seeing the entertainment industry, seeing how wild the city is, all the diversity here, that changed my perspective. And it was sort of during the pandemic that I started looking at my Blackness. I was living with my father, and I don't know that I ever thought I was going to be in entertainment. I just wanted to be able to talk about my existence in a way that hadn't really been done in New Brunswick, wasn't being done in the East Coast. And then what ends up happening is you snowball into everyone's existence is important, all Black people, and that does include artists, people in the entertainment industry, actors, and it also includes business owners, and it includes kids, and it includes everybody, because we have this commonality that people don't like us, or our lives are harder because of melanin, and that is unfair. Whether you are at the top of the top and you're Maestro Fresh West who's just getting inducted into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, or you're me as a little girl at 2 years old being called the N-word, for some reason we have this shared experience, even though I don't know that there's anything else we have in common. And I just wanted to really explore that and talk about that and change the way people see us.
For Weyni, storytelling is not just an art form. It's a vital tool for fostering understanding and connection within communities. By bringing diverse stories to the forefront, she can help shape the narratives about the Black experience.
It wasn't until I then went to university and started to learn about Lorraine Hansberry and Marie Baraka, all of these revolutionary writers, and also Canadian Black writers like Janet Sears and, of course, Trey Anthony, who I ended up collaborating with. So it came to me very much as a storytelling practice through music. So I ended up going to university as an actor, and by the end of first year, I knew that what I wanted to do, again, was be directly involved in shaping the narrative.
Sometimes life presents us with opportunities that don't quite align with our original dreams. Yet those very moments can lead us to unexpected passions, as Carla knows all too well.
It wasn't clear for me that I was going to be in that industry, in the music industry, because my biggest wish and goals and dream was to be a sports journalist. Not a lot of people knew that. So I studied journalism, and my goal, my mission was to be a sports journalist, and it didn't work out. But after university, I had an internship with CBC to work in a music show called Les Refrains d'Abord, and I started like that. So it was more like, not despite I didn't do the sports, but I was like, okay, so I had that opportunity to go and work for CBC. That was one of my dream, to be a sport journalist at CBC, the French side. And then I started like that. And it really amazed me, because when I started that show, I realized I get to learn so many artists that I didn't know. And I just fell in love with that career and that world.
Director X's path in the visual arts began in an unexpected place, the creation of party flyers. But then he quickly evolved by exploring different disciplines within the visual arts scene.
When I was in high school, someone handed me a party flyer. Back in those days, party flyers were printed on paper and drawn by hand. So I saw it, oh, I could do this. So I started drawing party flyers. My first professional job was drawing party flyers for local Toronto parties. And the more serious I took it, then, just drawing a flyer turned into using computers to do the words, and it grew and grew and grew, and eventually led to, getting an interest in film, making music videos. I tell people all the time, just follow your interests. Follow what you're interested in, and that will lead you to where you're supposed to be. And I was interested in art. I was interested in comic books. I was interested in graphic design. I was interested in poetry. Then I was interested in hip hop. And then I was interested in filmmaking. Then I was interested in directing. And, boom, 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 boom.
Jester, one of North America's most sought-after DJs, never imagined that a career could sprout from the very act of partying. For him, the nightlife was simply a place for fun and freedom, until the unexpected happened.
You know what? I didn't know it could be a career. I didn't know it could be a career. I graduated high school, was about to attend college, and I got a call from Dr. J. And Dr. J said to me, he's like, yo, they're looking for somebody to work at Play the Record, downtown Toronto. And he's like, I can't do it, but would you be interested? And he kind of co-signed me to working at Play the Record. And I have to thank him for that, because I can't lie, all my money went to Eugene at Play the Record. I bought records every week. I was buying things I didn't even need. I think it was insane. So, kids, save your money. But I didn't know it could be a career until the colleges started calling. So Western University, Windsor University, Concordia, you name it. All the colleges started calling and asking me to come and play. And that's when I said, okay, I think I got to take this a little seriously, because I'm no longer making $150 just to do a set. And $150, I was like, oh, that's a lot of money that I thought. And then I realized, okay, I got to create an account. I got to create a business account, because this sounds like it's about to be something. And my mom was like, you're going to play music? What do you mean you're going to play music? Every West Indian, they're like, no, you're not going to play music. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in it. But then she saw what, years later, as it grew and it grew and it grew, she saw what it could have been or what it could be. And she was like, okay, all right, I support it. That's it.
Success isn't always about following a predetermined path. It's about having the courage to create your own, even when the destination isn't clear. This can open doors you never knew existed and lead you to opportunities you could have never imagined.
You have to make your own way. Like, the reality is, it's very difficult. This industry, there are so few opportunities. Not saying that there are no opportunities, but sometimes, there's a lot of people fighting for just a few, and sometimes you have to just create your own sometimes. And so for me, I went to University of York, got my communications degree, did a joint program with Seneca, got my broadcasting degree. And I said, whatever I got to do to get in the door, I'm going to get in the door. And part of that process for me was taking a job in Timbuktu, Northern British Columbia, in a town called Smithers, black population 0. When I got there, it went up to 1. So yeah. And just starting there, and it wasn't a move I wanted to make, because, I like to be with family, friends. I'm from Toronto. Why would you want to leave the big city? But I knew I had to take a step in that direction. I had to bet on myself and trust the process. And once I did that, then everything started to fall in line.
While Brandon was embracing the charm and the challenges of small town life, Marika was plotting her escape. Her eyes were firmly fixed on the glittering horizons of the music industry.
So I actually grew up in a town that was it was a white town, I would say. White and country music. And I grew up to Michael Jackson. He was my hero, basically, growing up. And I never had the influences that I thought I could have in my town growing up. So I would be in choirs, and I'd be in jazz choirs, but never really singing the music that I wanted to sing. And it wasn't until I graduated high school and was like, I want to try. So I moved out to Vancouver. I thought I was going to be back then this kind of Christian gospel artist. Didn't happen. I went to a conference and there was only white people. And I was like, I can't do it. So actually I moved to Vancouver. I met a guy named Jonathan Simkin from 604 Records. He was like, don't ever be in the music industry if you're smart. And I was like, I want to meet that guy. And him and a few other producers that were pop producers. And I started my pop music career. And recorded my first singles, and my first 2 went top 10 in like 3 weeks.
Gail's passion for music led her to take a chance on a record label. This wasn't just a small step, it was a giant leap into the unknown. It was fueled by her love of the industry and her belief in its potential.
So while I was working in television, as I was saying, I did music as on a volunteer basis, and then I ended up starting a company, a record label, an independent record label, after a chance encounter with an R&B singer by the name of Ray Robinson. So Ray and I met. He was looking for a manager. I didn't have any experience, but I had passion. So I'm like, Ray, I don't have experience, but I have passion. And then he mentioned that the producer he was working with, Kid Cut, Kevin Keith, was also interested in combining, like working with him and doing a business. So the 3 of us got together and we created Reach Records. So that's how I got in the mix. And because I had my television experience, that kind of helped us really get in contact with journalists and help us promote what we were doing. And then Kid Cut had the production experience. So between the 2 of us and our experience, we were able to really bring that together. A distribution deal with Universal Music Canada. And, I was just learning every day. I've never done this before. I'm like, what am I doing as an indie record label owner? There were so many people in the industry that were willing to share their knowledge and really help me out. And I just feel very blessed at that time.
From the bustling streets of Toronto to the quiet corners of small towns, from the glittering stages of theaters to the pulsing energy of recording studios, our journey through Canada's entertainment landscape has revealed one common thread: the power of experience. As we've heard from our guests, each step of their unique paths have been shaped by the experiences they've embraced, the challenges they've faced, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Their journeys show that it's not just about where you end up, but the experiences you gather along the way that truly define your path in this industry.
Can't get a job unless you have experience, but you can't get experience unless you have a job. Intern. Work for free. I'll work for free. You'll be surprised how many people, or you won't be surprised how many people will say free. Okay, kid. When you're young and you have that kind of, right? People will open up. Sometimes you got to do those things. Apprenticeships, internships. It's just part of the game. It's only now till people are like, I need to be paid for this. Okay, well, we can't pay you. Sorry, you know what I'm saying? Or you don't need to pay me, but I can work this. I can do Fridays. I'll come in every, I can do blah. Are you hustling or are you hustling?
Okay, so are you hustling or are you hustling? That's the question we've been exploring throughout this episode. We've heard from trailblazers who've turned their passion to purpose, their struggles into stepping stones, and their dreams into reality. But the journey doesn't end here. Our next episode will resonate with anyone who's ever confronted adversity and wondered, what's next? Join us for episode 2, season 3 of the Amplify docuseries, where we'll delve into the power of perseverance and the vital role of community in the pursuit of success.